Hi everybody, old Gary out here at the Fishing Shack, and welcome to this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Show and Report. Here we are, middle of July already, and we're feeling it. A little hot out, isn't it? And we're getting kind of the dog days of summer. Fishing reports are pretty well like they have been the last couple of weeks, but we do have a couple of new reports for you, and I'm going to tell you, the cat fishing has just been crazy here in the Ozarks. We'll be visiting about this and some nice crappie being caught at Truman Lake. Out at Stockton, they're catching some walleye yet, and some pretty good reports all the way around. And want to thank all the viewers last week, all you chummers out there, nearly 15,000 of you viewers. God bless you. Thank you very much. Hey, we have a great photo of the week. And at the end of the program, Kathy and I have selected some great photos for our photo roll. So don't go anywhere. We've got a good show. All right, let's start out at Beaver Lake. The water temperature out there this morning was 87 degrees, a good summer temperature. And I want to say hey to Derek Hill from the Goat Island Guide Service. Look at this first photo. Boy, look at that young man smile. Great photo, great fish. Good going, Derek from Goat Island Guide Service. And our old buddy Richard Lee Rusher from the of course, the Custom Adventure Guide Service. He goes out just about every day, takes his clients out. They always catch fish. And look at this first photo. That's a good photo, man. And look at the second photo here. Look at this young man. He has a smile on his face thanks to Richard Lee Rusher out at Custom Adventure Guide Service. They're catching a lot of fish down below the dam, and that water temperature is in the 60s down there. So looks good for the upcoming weekend, that below the dam fishing. All right, let's go out on the main lake, Beaver Lake. They're catching some crappie at Beaver Lake. Some people are using crankbaits, trolling and putting in their spider rigging, and some people are jigging in the brush piles around 20, even 25 feet of water. And the fish they are catching are awfully nice size. So you may want to try a little crappie fishing this weekend. I've had a couple of reports of walleye being caught at the lower end of Beaver Lake off some of the points, 25, 30, 35 feet of water. Some people have been drifting and using their trolling motors and working. There hasn't been much wind this week, and working night crawler harnesses and catching fish, and occasionally some nice walleye at Beaver. And they've been catching some nice stripers and hybrids, I understand, mainly at the lower 1/3 of the lake off some of the points and deeper water. The guides have been going out there scanning and looking with their graphs and finding fish, and really getting some nice fish on occasion out there. And I know the cat fishing's good at Beaver as well. So overall, you know, throw in a little bass fishing, a little topwater fishing in the early morning hours. And I've had some reports of swim baits out at Beaver, and also pitching jigs and plastic worms out there. So Beaver looks good for the upcoming weekend. All right, let's go out to Table Rock. Temperature anywhere 85 to 87 degrees on the surface. And I've been having some pretty good fishing out there. The bass fishing can be tough. Some people are struggling, other people are really catching good numbers of fish. So we'll be talking about that in a minute. But we want to go to our photo. Roman Carr had his wife out the other day, and she caught her first walleye. And look at this nice walleye, Mrs. Carr, 6.5 pounds out at Table Rock. Good going, Roman. Good guide. I bet you got a good kiss for that one. Okay, let's go. Greg Harrison, he's been fishing out at Table Rock. He always catches fish out there. Look at this nice photo of Greg. Good going, Greg. And I want to talk just, here's a photo of myself with a bluegill. It's this time of the year at Table Rock and even at Bull Shoals, Stockton, all the good Ozark lakes, that the bluegill fishing is really good. And I'd recommend getting the kids or mom and dad out, or take somebody out and just have fun this upcoming weekend. At Table Rock, they can be at the bluff ends or along the bluffs or on the points, and you're going to have to go a little bit deep for them, 25, maybe even 30 feet of water. And all you need is like a little gold hook, a crappie hook, put a split shot up above it, and just maybe a night crawler or an earthworm. Maybe use just a half of one, get it down there off the bottom, go to the bottom till you get slack, then crank it up, a crank off the bottom, just hold it, And boy, you can catch a lot of bluegill right now. And you can catch them on these night crawlers or earthworms. And what's good about bluegill? They're fun to catch and fun to eat. And so the bluegill fishing is excellent out at Table Rock right now. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the walleye fishing. As you've seen, Roman got his wife into a nice walleye. I've had several reports of nice walleye being caught this week. Now, as I mentioned on last week's program, it's not no big run. You're not going to go to one area and catch a quick limit. That's not going to happen. But what's going to happen is you go point hopping and use night crawlers or maybe troll a flicker shad, you'll have a chance of catching a big walleye or two. And so that's what I want you to do this weekend. Kind of go to the points and use your electronics and kind of ease back and forth on the point so you see a little action. If you see some fish towards the bottom, that's when you want to go to your night crawler. Your jig and night crawler or just a hook and night crawler, drop shot and night crawler, and you'll have a chance of picking up a nice walleye. And if they look like they're suspended, you may want to get your flicker shads or your flicker minnows and do some trolling. I'd say anything with chartreuse on it as far as colors with your flicker shad or flicker minnows. And I would go to a little bit deeper bait, maybe a number 7 or a number 9, and troll those points, and you'll have a chance of picking up some walleye too. Now the bass fishing, been spotty. I've had some reports, people are saying the topwater fishing is horrible. Then I talked to a couple other people say, boy, we really got into the bass this morning on topwater. And so the topwater fishing can be good. Always have a rod and reel handy with a topwater bait tied on. Get out there early in the morning, any kind of a flicker minnows or any shad movement, get out there and use that topwater. And then another trick that I like to use, because sometimes they're not wanting that topwater, they'll swipe at it and miss it. And so then this is when you want to go to have another rod and reel rigged with a grub. 1/4 ounce jig head, a bare jig head's fine, like a 4-inch. I like the smoke with the red flake, also salt and pepper. And if you do have a swipe and miss it, pitch that grub out there, count it down to about 5 or 7, slow roll it in. You'll have a good chance of catching that fish. But then other times people are saying, boy, they've been killed. They killed that topwater this morning. So it just depends where you're at and how hungry these fish are, but you can catch some fish on topwater. Other people are going out deep water and doing some drop shot fishing. Other people are still sticking with that Ned rig or shaky head and picking up bass off the long points in 15, 20, 25 feet of water. So you want to check this out. And we've had some reports up in the James River now of some big 10-inch plastic worms picking up fish right now. And so go to a 10-inch plastic worm, a dark color, a purple or a black, and just pitch that 10-inch plastic worm out. Just have a little bit of a split shot up above it. Swim it to the brush pile or tree or trunk, drop it, and boy, I tell you, you'll have a chance of picking up some nice bass using that big plastic worm up in the river areas right now. And another thing I've had 2 different reports on, some deep water crankbait fishing is good as well right now at Table Rock. So you got a mixture there. Take the tackle box and go from top water to 30 feet of water. I think you'll have a chance of picking up some nice bass at Table Rock. Crappie fishing has been a little tough. That's that time of the year. They've been picking up some fish in the standing pole timber and brush piles, anywhere from 15 to 20, 22 feet of water. Few crappie can be caught around the docks, but it's been a little bit slower. So Table Rock looks good for the upcoming weekend. Don't overlook that bluegill fishing. It can be a lot of fun. All right, let's go out to Lake Taneycomo. By the way, I think I told you 86 to 88 degrees on the surface at Table Rock. Taneycomo, the water temperature is 50 degrees out there. They're running a couple turbines out there. It's hot. They're generating the turbines. And so the drift fishing can be good. I've had reports of drift fishing night crawlers. That's still good. So a few people are still using minnows. Other people have been using power eggs. It seems like white's always good. I've had reports of pink, and we've had reports of orange, and even they've been picking up some fish on chartreuse, kind of mix it up. But white is awful hard to beat right now. Other people are using, I tell you what, that Berkeley power worm, the trout worm, and pink, and maybe, what is it, about 3 or 4 inches. Put a strike indicator up around 4 or 5 feet, pitching that out on edge during the quieter time when they're not running so much water catching fish. And another thing I like to do at Taneycomo this time of the year is use, when they're not generating water, it's real quiet, it can be tough, I use my little rod, 2-pound test, and I use a 32nd or even a 64th ounce jig. And with that 2-pound test, pitch that out, and if you have 64th ounce, it takes a while to get down, but if you just creep that thing in, boy, I tell you what, you'll have a chance to catch a nice trout. And it seems like your darker colors. I like the cinnamon, the black, I like the brown. I like that brown with just a little bit of chartreuse in that hair. Boy, it can be a lot of fun. And I've had a few reports of fish being caught on little Cleo spoons. So Taneycomo may be a good bet for the upcoming weekend. All right, let's go out to Bull Shoals, 87 degrees out there. And Daniel Chrome, how you doing, pal? We're going fishing one of these days. He had Dennis out the other day. Dennis had never caught a walleye. And look at this nice fish that Dennis caught, his first walleye. And it was out at Bull Shoals. And they've been catching some nice walleye on occasion out there off the points, kind of like Table Rock at the points. No one spot loading a boat, just go point to point. Lower end's been good. Up around that Oakland area has been good. But you have to work at it. But boy, you have a chance of picking up a nice walleye out at Bull Shoals this week. And what they've been doing is using night crawler rigs and drifting. There hasn't been much wind out there this week. And so using your electronics and just kind of ease back and forth with your trolling motor, your electric motor, picking up a fish on occasion. And I've had a couple of reports of spoons been catching some walleye out there on occasion at Bull Shoals. Okay, as I mentioned, here's a shot of a big old stack of bluegill. Out at Bull Shoals, you can catch bluegill right now in deep water. Off the old river, off the channel, off the old shoreline. And it's still, that lake is still up around 30 foot of water. But you can get out in around 25, 30, 35 feet of water, get on some of those long points as well, drop-offs around the bluffs, and use that just a little night crawler or a half a worm. You can catch a lot of bluegill at Bull Shoals right now. And I've had some fair reports on crappie fishing, and they're kind of brush hopping out there, going from one brush pile to the other brush pile in around 20, 25 feet of water. Minnows have been the best. Some people have been using jigging minnows, but if you hit the right brush piles at the right time, you can catch some nice crappie out at Bull Shoals. The bass, I've had several reports. Texas-style plastic worms catching some fish in the brush piles. Jigs is catching some fish in the brush piles. I've had reports of swim baits. I've had reports of grubs. And they're getting out on those long points and finding balls of shad. And anytime you find those balls of shad, they've been working maybe spoons or picking up a few fish. I've heard reports of drop shots, and some people have been using some Ned rigs out there. So take the tackle box. But they're a little bit of a top water bite in the morning out there as well, a little bit. So Bull Shoals, a lot of water out there. But I tell you what, the water looks good. Get out there and catch some fish this weekend. All right, let's go out to Stockton. The water temperature out there this morning was 85 degrees. That lake's looking good. And boy, they're catching a lot of catfish out there at Stockton right now, like all of the other lakes. And Richard Webb was out. Look at these nice cats. Good going, Richard, old chummer. And George Stark was out, our old friend, our chummer. Look at these cats. Good going. And Jim McClure was out. I like that, McClure. What a great name. He was out just the other day, and picked up a nice limit of walleye here. Doesn't that look good? So Stockton looks good. Okay, the catfishing has been really good. I've heard small bluegill. I've heard of cut shad. I've heard big balls of worm. But they're catching a lot of catfish at Stockton. So, boy, that sounds good for the upcoming weekend. As Jim just showed you here, he had a limit of nice walleye. They're still catching walleye. It's been real quiet wind-wise, and that can be a little bit tough for fishing for walleye. But if you get out early in the morning and go point hopping, as we've been talking the last 2 or 3 weeks on the program, just look at the points with your electronics and find any type of activity. Get down there with a jig and night crawler or a jig and half a night crawler, kind of work it along with your trolling motor. You'll have a chance of picking up fish. And and at times they are picking up some fish by trolling flicker shads or flicker minnows out there as well at Stockton. And I tell you what, the crappie fishing, they're down around, I've heard, anywhere from 20, 25, 30 feet of water, anywhere from 15 to 25 feet anyway. So experiment on your depth. Some people are using spider rigs, other people are just working crankbaits, and they're working some flicker shads out there. You never know what you're going to catch out there when you're trolling those flicker shads, that's for sure. And in the morning or late evening especially, boy, a good time to have the kids out, because the white bass are starting to surface out there the last couple of weeks. Might not be real big white bass, but they're a lot of fun, and the kids can have a lot of fun. Just pitch out white jigs, that's all you need. Little road runners, anything like that will catch fish out at Stockton. And I tell you what, the bass fishing's been really good at Stockton as well. A little bit of a topwater bite in the morning hours. Seems like they don't want a big topwater bait, but go to the pop-R type bait, the popping bait. Ooh, that could be good. And they've been picking up some fish in the brush piles out there as deep as 25 feet of water, Texas-style plastic worms, and they've been catching a fish on occasion with some crankbaits out there as well, and some swim baits. So Stockton looks good for the upcoming weekend. All right, let's go out to Pomme de Terre. 86 degrees out at Pomme de Terre. And the crappie fishing's been pretty good, but you just have to go brush hopping, brush pile hopping, because you might hit 2 or 3 brush piles, nothing, and bingo, you hit a brush pile that's crappie in it. Jigging minnows or minnows down there around 15 to 20, 25 feet of water. I know if you go out there and put an effort to it, you can catch crappie this weekend out at Pomme de Terre. And look at our friend Chris Burkhardt. He was out just yesterday. Look at this nice bass that he caught. Chris is a chummer, and he sent this in last night right before the program. Good going, Chris. And he said the bass fishing's been real good at Pomme de Terre. Not many people fishing out there for bass, but the ones who are catching fish. I've had reports of Texas-style plastic worms, and somebody told me the other day he was using a pink plastic worm and caught 2 nice bass. But plastic worms have been working some swim baits, a little bit of a topwater bite in the early morning hours, and been doing a little Ned rigging out there as well. Good going, Chris, on that bass. And so Pomme de Terre may be good for the upcoming weekend, but I think go brush pile hopping for crappie sounds good. Okay, let's go to the photo of the week out at Truman Lake. 87 degrees out there this morning, and Jim Harris was out with the kids. This was just yesterday morning, and look at this photo of the week. Isn't that a great photo? Look at those kids. Look at the smile on those kids' face. And so this is our Fishing Chums photo of the week, Jim Harris and the kids. Good going. Jim said the catfishing has been excellent out there, and he said he thought that the catfish are pretty well done with the spawn, and so they're good and hungry right now. And they've been picking up fish on cut shad for the most thing, and about 14 feet of water on the flats out there, and they've been picking up some fish on night crawlers too, but cut shad seems to be the best overall bait at Truman. A lot of cats being caught out there. Good going, Chris and the kids. Photo of the week. Here's the thing. How about crappie fishing? You bet, guys. Crappie fishing is good at Truman. I love summertime. I've always said this for years. I used to guide out there, and in the 90s, and I always swore that Truman was the best hot weather summer lake in the country. I have caught fish in 95 degrees water out there in 6 and 8 feet of water in the summer and midday. It's crazy. But the crappie fishing is good, and so we're going to go to the Great Outdoors Guide Service and look at this table full of crappie that these guys had this week out there by fishing the flats. And that's what these crappie do this time of the year. They get up on those flats and they kind of move around. So just get out there with your good troll electric motor and ease around to these fence rows, the old tree rows, the cedar trees, any kind of a structure. Ease up there and just kind of doodle flock a minnow. And I'm telling you, you'll have a chance of picking up some nice crappie at Truman this weekend on the flats. Use the structure, 15 feet of water right in there. And so what a great photo from the Great Outdoors Guide Service. Boy, what a table full of crappie. Whew, they are going out there. Okay, Jim Murphy was out the other day, and he got into some white bass and hybrids out at Truman. And so, especially in the evening hours, some of these fish have been coming up, surfacing a little bit. So this may be a good bet for the upcoming weekend. Keep an eye on top water early morning or late evening. And I tell you what, Roland Bullard was out the other day, and he caught these two nice walleye. So this is the time of the year, in the summertime, these walleye are moving pretty good. I always like that KK Island area. You can catch some fish anywhere 15, maybe 25 feet of water. Some people are just trolling. Other people are using a jig and night crawler, whatever. Try that KK Island. And there's other points on there that always produce some walleye on occasion as well. So this is the time of the year you can catch walleye out at Truman. Good going, guys. Okay, we talked a little bit about the crappie fishing on the flats and the catfishing on the flats. There's been some pretty good bass fishing at Truman too on the points and secondary points. Big plastic worms, Texas style, in the brush piles, and we've had reports of some fish being caught. A few on topwater early morning. It's brief, I understand, but always have a topwater bait tied on. And they've been picking up some fish as well on crankbaits out at Truman. So try that this weekend. Okay, let's go out to Lake of the Ozarks. It's 84 degrees out there. Adam and Bryant was out the other day, got a couple photos. Look at these fish that they got into. And I tell you what, Adam's really been catching fish at Lake of the Ozarks on the Osage Arm. Look at that. Good going, Adam. Matt Sanders was out the other day, too. He's a chummer. And look at this beautiful 18-pound catfish, blue cat, that Matt caught. Matt Sanders. Good going, chummer. And so at Lake of the Ozarks, this is what's happening. They're catching a lot of catfish in the river arm up in the Osage, blue cats. They've been cut shad is by far the best bait, I understand, and you can have a chance of really picking up big quality fish right now. Might want to try that this weekend. And the crappie fishing are in the summer pattern and have been catching crappie at Lake of the Ozarks. I tell you what, some people are suspended, it seems like, and people have been doing some spider rigging out there, also trolling crankbaits. Other people are going to the brush piles and getting down around 15 to 25 feet of water on minnows or jigging minnows catching fish. I've had some reports around some of the docks too, some crappie can be caught, especially on the shady side. Bass fishing has been fair out at Lake of the Ozarks. They've been picking up some fish on crankbaits on the windy points, but there hasn't been much wind this week. And they've been picking up some fish on plastic worms, and they've been picking up some fish as well on some Ned rigs out there, and shaky heads has been good at the Lake of the Ozarks. So, boy, those cats look good, good. Okay, at Norfolk Lake, it's 88 degrees this morning out there. Hey, I want to say hi to Sam Higman. He was out the other day. Look at this nice limit of walleye that he caught on spoons in about 30 feet of water. And Sam, that's a nice mess of fish. I want to show you 3 photos of Sam. Look at this nice white bass and hybrids that he got into. Look at that, photo number 1. And now look at the photo number 2 would be some walleye, and then a limit of walleye, or third photo. So Sam really got into some nice fish out at Norfolk, and they're getting out there on the shorelines, off the shorelines where it drops off into the brush, and using spoons or jig and night crawlers for those walleye. There's been several limits of walleye caught out at Norfolk this week. Occasionally, they're in that same area, they can catch some crappie a little bit, maybe down around 15 to 18 feet of water. So Norfolk looks good. Understand that the stripers have been out in deep water, as deep as 100 feet, and they may be down 60 or 80 feet on spoons. You might pick yourself up a nice striper out there at Norfolk this weekend. Well, that's not a bad report for the middle of July. My gosh, it's hot out there. You want to get out early in the morning, maybe some late evening fishing. Some people have been doing some night fishing, but I think you can get out and get bit this weekend. I want to thank you very much once again, all you viewers last week, nearly 15,000 of you viewers. God bless you. Thank you very much. And we have some great photos coming your way in a moment, so don't go anywhere. But I want to do a little business first. On YouTube, be sure to like and share. Kathy put it up there, subscribe, bingo. And if you would like to send us photos, you can go to our email. Email us at fishingchums@gmail.com. Now, for all of our thousands of viewers over on Facebook, God bless you. Thank you very much. Keep spreading the word. Keep sharing. Like and share. And also, if you have any photos, the best way to send the photos is join our group. Put that up there, Kathy. Join our group on Facebook, the Fishing Chums group. It's a lot of fun. We get to talk and sharing information and fishing reports and photos, but it's the best way to get photos sent to me so I can get it here on Fishing Chums. And so, thank you for doing that. Well, that's about it. Boy, I tell you what, it's going to be hot this weekend. So take plenty of water along, plenty of sunscreen. And Kathy, we have those good photos coming up. God bless you for being with us today. And I want to see you here next week if I don't see you out on the lake this weekend. Roll those photos, Kathy.